Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the 1948 film noir Key Largo. And the movie begins with Army veteran Frank McCloud arriving at the Hotel Largo in Key Largo, Florida. McCloud is there to see the Temple family who own the hotel. But this is a melancholy visit. You see, George Temple was a friend of McCloud's and they served together in World War II, but George lost his life in the Italian campaign. Now, because the winter vacation season has ended and a hurricane is approaching, the hotel has only six other guests, a group of men and one hard drinking woman who have hired the entire building for a week. There's something not quite right about the strangers, a hardness and a suspiciousness that gives way to too eager friendliness when it becomes clear that McCloud will be staying the night. Who are these people, and why do they jump so quickly to the orders of the unseen Mr. Brown, who almost never emerges from his room? Well, they claim to be in the Florida Keys for fishing. Given that the season of the year, this is not an entirely convincing story, but McCloud doesn't really pay it much heed. His focus is more on reminiscing about his lost friend with Nora Temple, George's attractive widow, and James Temple, George's father, and on helping the pair prepare the hotel for the incoming hurricane. However, when the storm does arrive, the other guests unleash a different kind of hurricane inside the building. They pull guns and take McCloud and the Temples hostage. It seems their mysterious sixth member, Mr. Brown, is in fact the gangster Johnny Rocco. Rocco has secretly returned to the United States from enforced exile in Cuba and is looking to re establish both his criminal career and legend within the US. The thin skinned and power obsessed Rocco soon shows himself to be cruel and dangerous. He taunts McCloud about his military career and attempts to goad our protagonist into a lopsided confrontation. When McCloud refuses to rise to the bait, Rocco takes out his frustrations by tormenting his alcoholic girlfriend Gay instead. Can McCloud and the Temples find a way to survive this volatile situation? So Key Largo was the fourth and final on-screen pairing of real-life power couple Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. As you might imagine, Bogart plays McCloud, though in real life he was too old to be a World War II veteran. He had in fact served in the US Navy during World War I. Bacall, meanwhile, plays the youthful widow Nora Temple. Now, on release, the film won critical praise, won Academy Award, and a decent financial return, and it continues to be well regarded today. And I can't really say that I'm going to buck the trend here. I don't think this is a flawless movie, and in particular, it may be a bit slow paced for audiences used to the more high tempo style of modern thrillers, but it's a well made picture with good performances. It's also got a few interesting characteristics to talk about, so let's dive into them. So, first and foremost, this is a very Humphrey Bogart film. Pretty much everything about it is tailored for him. The most obvious is, of course, that he's got his wife as his love interest, but it definitely doesn't stop there. Key Largo's director, John Huston, is an old colleague with whom Bogart had worked on several films, including The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. The script includes nautical elements that would have appealed to Bogart, who was a keen sailor. Heck, the boat he sails in this film is named after his own personal yacht. And then we have the role of Frank McCloud himself. Bogart made something of a career of playing men who have been wounded by life and who've compensated this by adopting a hardened veneer of cynicism and self interest. But most of whom, if you dig deep enough, will cling to an ember of heroism and self sacrifice. Rick Blaine in Casablanca, Harry Morgan in To Have and To Have Not, Vincent Parry in Dark Passage. They all share these characteristics, and so does Frank McCloud. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only kind of role that Bogart played. He had the range to portray much seedier characters when required, and also more optimistic ones. But this is definitely an archetype he portrayed many times. And there's one more make Bogart happy element to the film's structure, the man playing his chief antagonist, Edward G. Robinson. The smouldering chemistry between Bogart and Bacall tended to dominate most of their work together. It provided an extra frisson to their first picture together, To Have and To Have Not, and it was so potent when filming The Big Sleep that extensive reshoots were done to increase the prominence of their relationship in the movie. Most of the new scenes are sexually charged, including one of the dirtiest conversations you'll ever hear about horse racing. But while that chemistry is still present in Key Largo, it's not the film's most memorable on screen relationship. Instead, it is the battle of wills and nerves between Bogart's McCloud and Robinson's Johnny Rocco that really drives the film. Now, Edward G. Robinson had collaborated with Bogart on four previous films, and the off screen familiarity between the men pays dividends here. They work really well together. And that was vital because the struggle between McLeod and Rocco is the core conflict of this film. Now, it's a pretty one-sided struggle most of the time, of course. Rocco has a gang of armed thugs while McLeod is alone. And despite having a similar-sounding surname, Frank McLeod is no John McClane. He spent 3 grim years fighting on the Italian front, and he's emphatic that he has no desire to be a hero, especially a dead one. But although Rocco holds almost all the cards in the immediate situation, he has one thing in common with Frank McLeod. He's suffered setbacks that have left him with emotional baggage. In Rocco's case, he's carrying a lot of unfocused anger about being forced to flee the United States, anger that he's in part using to cover his fear that his days of success are behind him. Robinson does a great job of portraying this hard but brittle man, with his cruelty, his ruthlessness, and his weakness all coming through. It's really good work, and I'm a little surprised that his performance didn't even draw some nominations for awards. But perhaps that's because of Claire Trevor, whose portrayal of Rocco's semi-spurned lover Gay won her the Academy Award for Best Female Actor in a Supporting Role. Gay is an alcoholic, and in one of the most memorable scenes of the film, Johnny Rocco forces her to sing a song before he will allow her to drink. Reportedly, Claire Trevor was nervous about the scene. She was not a trained singer, but director John Huston refused to allow her to rehearse the song and then did the scene by surprise one afternoon. The song, Moanin' Low, is about a woman who is trapped in a relationship with a cruel man, and the scene has Gay slowly realise as she's singing that she is in that very situation herself. Trevor's raw, faltering, unrehearsed performance suits the moment perfectly, and at least some commentators have suggested that it was the primary reason for her award nomination and victory. More importantly for the film itself, though, the scene is also a catalyst for Gay to finally take stock of her life and her relationship with Johnny Rocco. It gives her something more to be than just a traditional noir bad girl femme fatale. And Gay is not the only one with narrative weight in this movie. While this is still a 1940s film and very much focused on a struggle between two men, both Gay and Nora Temple provide important impetus to Frank McLeod in his struggle with Johnny Rocco. Key Largo may in some ways feel slightly dated these days, but it is a good film, well made, and unless you simply can't deal with the slower tempo of the 1940 storytelling style, I think it's worth your time. Next time, 2 thrillers from Italian filmmaker Dario Argento. The first is 1975's Deep Red, and the second is Phenomena, which emerged a decade later. Though produced 10 years apart, the 2 films share several similarities, so it made sense to me to discuss them at the same time. But that is next time. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you've seen Key Largo, let me know what you thought of it.